Hi, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to look over the next few of my dad's knives from the Case Cutlery Company. This is the third video in my Case series, and I'm going oldest to newest. Today I'll be looking at one more older Bradford knife, and then four other Case knives that are circa 1950. The first knife I'm looking at is older than the others. This was somebody's Whittler. It's got a 1920 to 1940 longtail stamp. So this was Bradford. I can't find a standard model number for this. They didn't always have them back in the day. The handle is a black dyed jigged bone. I really like the cut. It's just kind of like random. Like someone's job was just to randomly, I guess that would be like the entry-level job at the Case factory, the bone jigger. It's your first day. They're going to put you at the jig station. So nickel, silver, pins, bolsters, and liner. Over here on the right bolster, there's like a divot. I don't know. I think there's supposed to be a cap or something for the nail or the joint pin. What do you call that? It's only on one of four, so I don't know what to make of it at all. Then, as I understand, this design came from Sheffield. This is what's called a split back Whittler, where you can see the middle section is tapered to a point between the two small blades. Then the two small blades on the Whittler share a single spring. It's called a split spring, and that lets them still move independently, but it doesn't increase the thickness on this side of the knife. It maintains its width, which is the whole point of it. And the shield here is what's called a tested block letter shield. They had a few different shields in this era. Block letter meaning the letters are printed without curves, only straight line segments. And here's a comparison, but those aren't my photos. On this blade, the main blade's a spear. The stamp is a long tail, and it's the only stamp on the knife. That stamp is 1920 to 1940, but considering the split back Whittler, it was probably closer to 1920 as they more phased those out later. The blade is chipped. It has some damage at the top and the point. Otherwise, I love the design. You can see from the back it has the distal taper where it tapers from thick to thin, from bottom to top. That's not too unusual. Then again, it's beveled about halfway out from the back to the edge. So it's tapered in two different ways. It kind of bulbs in the middle here, and it's a lot more three-dimensional and sturdy than your standard clip blade. Case calls it a saber clip. And then here is a pen, or a smaller clip and a pen. They usually varied their Whittler patterns, and this one has a smaller clip blade instead of a coping. The back blades, I think because of the split spring, they just don't have any tension or half stop or snap at all. They both just stay where you put them, except fully extended. I guess they stay open. But yeah, that's about it. That's a handy little Whittler, and it's certainly seen some use. And then the rest of the knives in this video are using a different stamp. They're the 1940 to 1964 Case XX stamp like this. But this one I think is the oldest of the four. It used to be a Sowbelly. This knife was used for years and years. The jigged bone is now a smooth bone. The lettering on the shield is 90% gone. It's got a crack through it over here. It's missing some bone down at the bottom. Both pins are showing. I like the color down here on the back of the handle. You can see the steel is much different color than the nickel, and I bet those would have been a lot closer in the day. The blades are what you'd expect after seeing the handle. The clip blade was sharpened down even to its last days. I will say the sharpener knew what they were doing. He gave it a pretty wicked shape, so that's something nice to say about it. And what used to be the sheep's foot is now more of a coping blade. And then the pen blade is more of a hole puncher. But it's still snappy and not rusted at all. It's got a lot of story. The main blade looks cool and is still very snappy. And I'll leave it at that. And next, I have two very similar knives to each other, likely from the same production era. The first of them is a model 6208, red jigged bone. Case calls it a half Whittler, which is just a main clip blade and a pen blade. The shield is called the Open C Tall S, which I think refines the date to the earlier of the stamps period. They stopped using that at the end of the tested era, which ended around the start of the 40s. The insides are all nickel silver. Both of the bolsters have some damage at the ends. The blades aren't so bad. This knife, I don't think it was really ever used. I don't see any scratches or sharpening at all. It does have some points of damage, like the bolster and the tip here. The tang stamp is the same as before. The model number's harder to read. I had to use the knife to find out the number rather than the other way around. And the pen blade is also stained with rust, but also pretty unused. Then there's this guy. He's slightly different in the handle shape than the last one, but otherwise pretty identical. And the first thing I notice about this blade is the main blade has some wobble when it's closed. It's perfectly fine once it's open though. And it's got the same red bone and the tall S shield as the last one. I can't tell the model number. It doesn't exist to my instruments. I can only see the two, but that's the only one I already knew. So it's probably a 6.2 something, maybe 6.233 pen knife. And this was a carry knife. It's got use and wear and some minor sharpening. Pretty standard pen knife, but with a clip point. Lots of snap, and I don't see anything more to say about it. And then the last, I think, is the newer of this today. It's one of my top 20 in the whole collection. It's a yellow composite small jack, model 32024 1/2. I'm not familiar enough to know what the 1/2 variation refers to, maybe the size. The handle is a 4-pin single bolster, yellow composite, non-celluloid, which means later 50s or early 60s. The whole thing's in great condition. I think the worst of it is this slight discoloration on the back of the handle or this spot of paint or something on the bolster. The blades are pretty mint, mirror polished, and the clip blade is just standard. It's got this cool swedge though. Same stamp as the rest. And I can actually read the model number here, which is always good. Springs are very strong. Nice stops, nice snap. It's a great knife. And that ends the case knives up to the early 60s. Next video, I'll be looking at some case knives from the end of the 60s through the 70s. I've got maybe 4 more videos I'll make until modern day. Then I'll move on to the next manufacturer alphabetically. And I've got hundreds more knives to inspect, probably over the next couple months. So if you'd like to see more of my father's knife collection, feel free to subscribe, or I think I can say by now, check out some of my other videos.